Hello guys, so this is SketchUp, and in this video we're gonna cover the basic in SketchUp, like how do you start in SketchUp. Okay, so when you click on the icon of SketchUp, I mean like starting the program, this is the first thing that you will see. So we gonna use architectural millimeter. So if you are doing architecture, it is very important that we get used to the unit of millimeters, because that's what we do, that's what we use in the industry as well. Okay, so the first thing that you see when you open your SketchUp is actually this, right? This is probably the only thing that you're gonna see. Okay, there's a lot more function and also a lot of toolbar, but we're gonna go through it one by one. For this video, we're really gonna cover the very basic one. So what we have here is a basic getting started toolbar. We're not gonna use this because it's quite, it don't have too much function on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click on the toolbar, like somewhere on the toolbar, for example here, and we're gonna go to down here toolbar. What we're gonna use is this large tool set. Okay, so click it and then you're gonna have it over here, right? Once you've done that, then you can close it, and then you can drag this, the top toolbar, the getting started toolbar, and you can close it, because basically whatever here is definitely on this large toolbar. Okay, so before we get started, I think we should cover how the whole thing actually works. So this is SketchUp basic plan, or we can say the view when you started to open SketchUp. Okay, and I highly recommend that you use mouse. So if you don't have mouse, you really need to get yourself one mouse, because it works really good. You will works really fast with mouse compared to touchpad. Okay, so get yourself a mouse, because a lot of function when you want to move around, when you want to change the view, it's basically by using mouse. You can use touchpad, but it can take some time to get used to it, and using mouse is just a lot more faster. Okay, so let's talk about that. Actually, first thing first, the scroll. So if you scroll, your mouse is gonna go zoom in and zoom out. That's very what do you call it, that very quite straightforward. So you don't have to press any button on your keyboard. You just scroll your mouse and it's automatically will go zoom in and zoom out. And it's where it's zoom in is basically according to the position of your mouse. So if your mouse is here, and it will zoom in to that location. If your mouse in the middle, it will zoom in to the middle. So that's how useful it is, right? The next one is the press scroll button. So you have your scroll, you have a button on this your scroll, and you press it, it will have this kind of function, like you can technically turn around in 360 degree. Now this model over here is by default, it will be facing you, so that's not going to be too clear. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a square, or I guess a cubic, so that things will get a lot more clear. So if you look at this square, right? So yes, so if you press the middle scroll bar, it will start to have, you can actually move the whole view like this, up and down, left and right. Okay, if you hold down shift and then the middle scroll bar or scroller, it will go left and right. So shifts and the scroll is really useful when you want to move around and then look at the different angle of your model, right? So that's why it's really helpful to have working with mouse actually instead of touchpad. Okay, so that's how you operate the view, right? Zoom in and zoom out and change the view left and right, up and down. Next thing we're gonna talk about is this blue, greens and red thingy. Okay, this is what we call the axis. Okay, so whatever you do, if you draw a line and then you can see that it became like green color, that means it is actually on the axis, right? It is actually straight on the axis of green. And if you use this, if you move to this side and then you have a red color, and that means it is straight with the red axis. And if you move a little bit upwards, and then you can see that it's actually blue colors, and that means it is following the blue axis. Okay, so that's the function of the axis, right? Let's just delete this, make things simple. Okay, so now we're gonna go through one by one of these simple tools. I would say they're not that simple, but it is a basic tools that we can use, or we will use to produce our digital model. Alright, so this is what we call a select tools. It is used to basically select any part of your model, right? The shortcut for this, or we call it hotkey, is the spacebar. So it has different function as well. If you select your item from left to right, it will select whatever inside the box, right? So if you look at the square, it's not being selected because we didn't actually select it within the box. If we cover everything in the box, it will select that box. But if you select things from right to left, even though you just it was just touching the box a little bit, it will select the whole thing as well, right? So that's two different ways of selection. Okay, this is lasso selection, so basically it will select everything inside the lasso. Alright, next we have paint bucket. Now paint bucket is basically to assign any colors or any textures on any plane, right? So if you click your paint bucket tools, it would automatically brings out the material toolbar or the material tray. Actually, you have a lot of textures and colors and patterns you can basically explore on your own. So this is color names, landscaping, you have grass, ground cover, right? Ground cover, river rocks, for example. But for this video, we're just gonna use color. Alright, so this is a different hue of colors. For example, we click on red and then we just color the whole thing. It works quite straightforward, right? So you're gonna have to, you see, when you want to color different part of the model, so you're gonna have to move it. So that is why using mouse is really helpful when operating SketchUp. Okay, so that's paint bucket. Now erasers is quite straightforward as well. It's basically erase whatever you have. Right, next we have making component. A making component is a function to turn any part of the model into a component, like a different separated component. So if you click here on the plane, so it will select the plane only. So it is actually not selecting the whole thing. If you double click, it will select the plane and the line around the plane. But if you triple click, it will select the whole model, right? Right now we are selecting this whole piece of cube, and then we can make them a component, create, and this is now a component. So that means when you click it, it will select the whole thing instead of selecting the plane only. So it becomes like a block. If you it's just a different term. So if you using AutoCAD is actually a block. If you use SketchUp, they call it a component. Okay, so that's the first group of two. So right now we move on to the next one. This is line. So obviously it's just to create a line. So in SketchUp, when you draw a line, it will stay as a line until you create a loop of that line. That means you close it, right? Then it will develop a plane automatically. Okay, so that's line, right? So when you draw a line, like we mentioned just now, okay, if it's on green, it's basically following the exits. If on blue, it's following the blue exits. And if you want to create a line that's actually the same length with the one below it, so you're just gonna go there at this point and then just follow through so that it has the same dimension, and then you just click it and then create a loop, and that will become a plane, right? Very simple, quite straightforward. It's basically drawing lines, right? So next we have the freehand. All right, so freehand is basically a drawing where we draw a line in a freehand kind of ways. So it's not really straight line. It's quite organic, I would say, right? This is a rectangle. Like other software, when you have that dotted line in between, that means you are drawing a square. We also have a rectangle. This is what we call rotated rectangle. That means like it is easier to draw a rectangle on an angle with this function. So instead of on the floor, we can actually draw it on vertical format. This is circle, right? Pretty straightforward. And next we have the polygon. The polygon will create a hexagon by default, but you can change the edge of the polygon by clicking Control and minus or Control plus. That will increase the segment or the edge of the polygon, right? So if you click minus, then it will become hexagon, and then pentagon, and then of course square or rectangle. And if you click Control plus, it will add up to the amount of edge that you have in your polygon. Alright, so that's polygon. So next we have arch, right? So if you look at it, there is a 4 ways to draw arch, right? And we're going to go through it one by one. The first one is what we call arch draw by defining a center point. That means the first click is basically you are determining the center point of the arch, and the second click is where you actually draw the arch, right? So that means the closer the center point, the closer the first click to the second click, the smaller the arch is gonna be. Okay, right? So the second ways of drawing arch is what we call 2-point arch. This is where you click to determine the first end of the arch, and then the second click is determining the second point of the arch, and you can drag it basically to determine how big the arch gonna be or how rounded it's gonna be. And then the third click will basically finalize the arch. Alright, so the bigger the distance between the first click and the second click, the bigger your arch is gonna be. Okay, the third ways of drawing arch is what we call 3-point arch. 3-point arch is quite complicated because if you can see, the first click is determining the origin of the arch, but then the second click will determine the angle of the arch. You know how it change how you move the cursor, right? So for this method, it's easy for you to control the curve However, it is quite hard for you to control the starting point and the end point of your curve. Last but not least is pie arch. It's basically quite simple. It's just as if you are drawing a pie. So you have a plane straightaways when you use this method. So I think that's it for this video. We cover all the way until arch, and the next one is going to be quite complicated, and we're going to cover on the next video. Thank you for watching. I see you guys in the next video.